Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today it's week 8 of the Stash Buster block of the week, and the name of the block today is Sickle, and this is what it looks like. This is an 8-inch block. It uses half square triangles and 4 patches, and this one goes together pretty quick. So I'm going to adjust the camera and show you the pieces that you need for this block. Now for the Sickle block, you're going to need your 3 colors. You've got a dark, a medium, and a light. And for the dark, you just need 1 piece, and this is a 4 7/8 of an inch square. And for your light, you also need a 4 7/8 inch square. And on this piece, you're going to draw a line diagonally from corner to corner with a pencil or a water-soluble marker and do that on the wrong side of your fabric. You're also going to need 4 2.5 inch squares, and then for your medium fabric you'll need 4 2.5 inch squares. So we're going to get started first by making our half square triangles, and that will be with your dark and your light 4 7/8 of an inch square, and you're just going to put those right sides together and then stitch a 1/4 inch away from this line that you drew. So I'm going to move over to the sewing machine and we'll get started on that. Okay, I'm just going to line all of my raw edges up together and line up my presser foot along that line, and just go ahead and stitch on both sides of this drawn line. And just flip it around and then do the other side. Okay, now I've got this piece sewn 1/4 inch away from both sides of that line, and so now next thing I'm going to do is to just cut it right on that line, and then that gives me the 2 half square triangles that I need. So I'm going to press those seams towards the dark fabric just like that. And then I like to trim off the little dog ears that are on the end here and kind of get them out of my way. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim those off flush with the edge of the piece. And now I'm going to work on the 4 patch blocks. And to do that, all I need to do is to sew 1 white square onto one of the medium green squares. So I'm going to take these over to the machine and work on those. Now my stitch length on all of my block projects is at 2.5, and the thread I'm using is 100% cotton thread, and it's in the color white, but you can use whatever color works best for you, and you can use whatever size thread works best for you. It doesn't have to be 100% cotton. You can use polyester, and you can use all-purpose thread, and you can use this is a 40 weight thread, but you can use a 50 or 60 weight thread. Those are thinner, and they actually can kind of help your precision on your piecing, make it a little more accurate. So I'm going to chain stitch all these pieces together, which means I'm going to stitch one piece right after the other and not cut them apart, so that when they're done they'll all be chained together, and I think that's how it got the name chain piecing. It just makes things go faster. It saves you a little bit of thread, and you know, it's just one of those things that somebody discovered, and we've all benefited from it. So I think it works out fine. And one more. Now this fabric that I'm using, this green here, this is a hand-dyed fabric, and this is one I dyed myself several years ago. And there's no right or wrong side to it. And I originally was not going to use any hand-dyed fabrics in this project, but I do have a few solid hand dyes. What I was talking about was my multicolored hand dyes. I didn't want to fussy cut those apart for this project. So, okay, so now we have all the pieces, and I'm going to press these towards the darker side, which will be the green. Okay, so I'm just going to lay these all out with just the dark side up and just press them flat, and what that does is help set the seam, the stitching into the fabric. It makes it a little bit easier to press your fabric open. And I'm not using steam at the moment, but you can. There's no reason why you can't. You just have to be careful when you are using steam, or when you're pressing at all. You do have to be careful so that you don't stretch your fabric out of shape. And the steam, if you're using steam, it's more likely to happen. So, but I do like using steam most of the time because it kind of gives a better finish, I think. But right now my iron's out of water, so we're not going to use steam. Okay, now I need to make 4 patches. So basically we're just going to flip them around like this, and then I'll have my 2 4 patches. So just flip them over and then sew down the long side. So I'm just going to match up my seam and my raw edges and just sew a 1/4 inch and make sure that bottom seam does not flip open. It isn't the end of the world if it does. You can fix that, but I'd as soon not have to do that if it isn't necessary. So and I just chain piece these 2 pieces together. So I'll cut those apart and cut off the thread tails, and then I have my 4 patch units, and I'll press these and we'll start laying the block out and start getting it put together. Okay, I'm going to go once again, press way it was stitched, and then press it open, and it doesn't matter which side you press open on these 4 patches. I have a little water in there. I'm going to give that a little steam and help it lie flat. Okay, now I'm going to lay this block out, and the half square triangles need to be going in the same direction, and this 4 patch unit needs to go this direction, and this one needs to go this direction. Now I have played around with these blocks earlier, and I sewed them together the wrong direction, so watch your diagram very carefully so that you don't have to do any ripping out. So I'm going to sew these 2 pieces together here, and then I'll sew those 2. And I don't have to match any points, but I do have to watch this seam here and make sure it does not flip that way. So I'm going to put that seam on the bottom and match up my raw edges and stitch with my usual 1/4 inch seam. And then the next two pieces, the half square triangle is going to go on the bottom. And then I've got to watch this seam here and make sure it doesn't flip over. So I'm just going to go slowly over that part of the block, and then just go ahead and finish it off. Make sure all my raw edges are even. Okay, and I believe I got it done correctly this time. Let's lay these pieces out and then press them, and we'll do the last seam to make the block. Okay, here's that section and this section. The thing you have to watch is the way these two blocks are facing, where the way the four patches are facing. If you look at that, you may think you've got it wrong because they're not turned the same direction, but this is how this block is designed. So you want to make sure you've got one going this direction and one going that direction. And so I'm going to press these away from the half square triangles. That way they'll be going in opposite directions, and those seams will nest for me, and it should go together pretty easily. And then you've got all your seam going towards the dark fabric here. So now I need to match these, and I want to match my seam here, and just make sure they're nested in together where there's no space in between the seams. And you can go ahead and put a pin in there if that makes you more comfortable, and I tend to like to do that on larger sections like this. So we're going to sew this seam, and then we'll have our completed block. Okay, once again I have to watch seams to make sure that they don't flip over. And if that does happen, you can always, quilt the quilt the way the seams are laid. You don't have to worry about it that much. It's just that it does make it easier, especially if you want to stitch in the ditch. So I'm going to watch this seam here, make sure it stays down and it's doing okay. I'm getting towards my intersection, so I'm going to take out the pin. Okay, now we're ready to press that final seam, and our block will be done. I'm just going to press the seam the way it's laying, and then press it open. There we go. And there is our sickle block. I made 4 of these sickle blocks, and I wanted to show you different ways that you can lay these out and put them in a quilt. A lot of these blocks that I've shown you are pretty versatile, so there's a lot that you can do with them. Some of them you may have 1 or 2 choices, but on this block you have several different choices. This one is different than the others. This is the first one I did. It's my trial run. But if you put them so that you have the half square triangles facing each other, you can get something that looks like this. Let me pull this back a little bit. So you have something that looks like that. You can turn them going the other direction, where you have the half square triangles going out, and then you have that look. So I think that's interesting. And then you can alternate them and like have them all going the same direction, and it'll give you kind of rows. Well, that would have to go this way, wouldn't it? Then you've got rows. You can have them facing each other like this, and then that lines up the 4 patches. So there's several different things that you can do in the layout of these blocks. This might be a block that you'll want to make several of and make a small quilt out of it, a lap quilt, or you know, a toddler size or twin size, or you know, all the way up to a king. There's a lot that you can do with this block. So I hope this gives you some ideas of what you can do with the sickle block. And I hope you're enjoying this series, and I hope you continue to join me as we go through this year with a different block each week. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will click that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you'll get notified when the next video comes up. And I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.